Hey guys, how you doing? Ronin here. I been reading the news and got a lot of good feedback from the episode I made about Tiger Woods, and so have a look at that. It's the last one, just going up right now, public, but I had a lot of good feedback from the Running Man guys in the inner circle here. So I thought I saw this other one, and I thought this was pretty important and pretty groundbreaking actually. So what I want you to do is start to see life through a different set of glasses. So it's almost like you have a X-ray pair of glasses you can just put on in the morning, and when you read the news, you don't have to avoid the news, you don't have to avoid life. You can just go ahead, move forward, but you can also see behind things, and you can quickly see what's really going on, so you don't have to be fooled, right? So just like when you're a little kid and your sister does ask your parents for something, and you can see that she's lying her ass off, then you know what she's doing. So it's like interesting to watch, but it's like you don't fall for it, right? You know, okay, she's trying to get that horse that she wants or whatever, right? So see through things. Yeah, don't avoid things. Don't avoid life. Okay, so here's the latest article. And what I thought was really great about this article, really great, is that it's kind of from a guy's perspective. And I tell you, I cannot tell you how rare this is. I wouldn't be surprised if this article gets popular and women cause this to be taken down, because this is so rare. This is fucking really rare article. So I thought I'd talk about it, and it describes some very serious things that guys have to deal with, and you have to deal with, and how guys are dealing with it. And it's kind of sad actually when you really think about what's going on here. But let's just talk about it. One thing, it's a New York Post, so it's a fairly big site. It's not a small blog, right? So Hampton's bachelors are getting vasectomies, so gold diggers can't trap them. Jeez, I mean, just use the, gold diggers and trap them. I mean, these kind of words you don't usually see public, This is like the reality of what guys deal with all the time, but it's never talked about, and there's no sympathy for it. But gold diggers going for rich guys, if you're a rich guy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you have very rich friends, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, this is a great chance to start learning, because learning about what other guys are going through really helps you also to understand. And as you go through your phases in life, you might find yourself in a very wealthy position where you're suddenly having to deal with gold diggers. And the problem is, if you ignore it or if you deny it until you get to that phase, it's very difficult to change. And also, you're not ready for it, right? You want to be ready for everything, right? You want to understand life as much as possible, every aspect of it. What's important, how to be successful, what happens when this happens, so that when it actually does happen, or a friend happens to a friend, you can give them great advice, or you can make the smart moves, right? So just quickly go through here. They have the picture of the girl, right? So whatever about that. Okay. Male guys, male men, vasectomy. Basically, they're saying guys at the Hamptons are having sex partners that are just throwing themselves at them, right? So this particular guy considers himself a good-looking guy, which he probably is, and he said he beds up to 10 women per summer, and 20% of the single ladies he encounters are looking to trap a rich guy with a baby. Okay, so let's just take this at face value as we read through here, and then we'll question things later or see if the numbers add up. But let's just go. I'll just tell you my basic belief is guys who get a lot of women, who have a lot of experience, usually are telling the truth, and that's what blows everybody away, because they're usually pretty honest guys. That's why they get so many women. They're pretty straightforward. They're pretty they're kind of in touch with something that most guys aren't. They do have something. That's why girls are attracted, right? They're usually not total bullshitters. That has not been my experience. I've seen many more bullshitters that are just total losers than guys who have a lot of successful women, or with money or whatever. But let's just go on here. So 20%, 10 women per summer. So let's say a summer for this guy. I don't know how long it is in the Hamptons. How long is the summer, guys? Is it? When you're a kid, when you're in school, it's 3 months. But I guess summer is closer to 2 weeks in working people's time. I don't know. Either way, 10 sounds like a lot. That's pretty. 10 different ones, right? You got to manage those, right? So the goal is, okay, so why would women be in this position? So instead of blaming women, instead of blaming people, let's look at the situation that society is putting them in. Let's look at the tools that they're being handed, right? If you hand a little boy who likes to start fires, if you hand him a blowtorch and you put him out in a field of gasoline, yeah, don't be surprised if he burns down the whole forest, right? And himself, right? Because you gave somebody the tools that were his own destruction. And you could almost predict it, right? So in this case, what society's handing women is the opportunity to fuck a guy, right? Which feels good. Girls like sex as much as guys, right? They control it because it's a bigger payoff. But actually, as far as liking sex, if anything, girls like sex more than guys, and have multiple orgasms and can really lose their mind over sex. Whereas the average guy watches Pornhub for 7 minutes, right? And then he's done, right? You get a girl really fired up, man. She can be like on the edge of her seat for a fucking weekend, right? Just coming the whole weekend, right? Guys just not like that. Guys get it done and they're done, right? You don't see it that often. That's why you don't probably think about it. But it's true. If you get a girl really fired up, it's almost like the devil comes out of her fucking chest, Whereas guys, it just doesn't happen the same way. But either way, so let's see here. So their goal, what does society give them? What is the gasoline and blowtorch that society gives them? It gives them 18 to 21 years of child support, a green card for the mother, and a green card for the kid, because the kid's born in the U.S., right? So that's a pretty big. Obviously, they're in this article that a lot of these guys, they're being politically correct, but these are imports. These are girls from overseas. So I don't know if anybody's from the Hamptons or vacations there. I've actually never been to the Hamptons. So if you know what nationality these girls tend to be, what percentages, I'd love to see in the comments below, because it's not about. It's better to let's put some labels. Let's figure out what's really going on here. Let's get the numbers. Let's get the stats. Fuck political correctness. Let's find out what guys are really going through, so they know what to target. Right? It's like the guy at the fucking airport who does a strip search and an anal cavity search of an old lady on her walker for suicide bombs. And there's like a guy, middle age. I mean, he's a young adult, from the Middle East, and they ignore him because politically correctness, right? Not saying. All I'm saying is the odds are higher, right? The odds are fucking higher. So let's go with the higher odds here. Let's figure out what's going on here. So this guy, Matt, is a divorced 41-year-old. He works in media and drives a Jaguar convertible. That's pretty visible, right? He had a vasectomy. Okay, so guys are having vasectomies. Okay, think about this, man. This is different than a circumcision. Okay, a lot of MRAs and a lot of MGTOWs talk about circumcision, which I have a story about that because I was circumcised as an adult, and I'll make an episode about that sometime. But circumcision is one thing, but when you're talking about vasectomies, you're talking about the ability to have babies for pretty much the rest of your life, right? You can reverse it in some cases, but it's a lot of times doesn't work, and you're obviously taking some massive chances if you want to have babies afterwards, right? At least with today's surgical techniques. So guys are giving up the chance to have babies, have a family, because they're so fucking scared of these women. So this is a good article, right? It is a good article because it's telling the truth from a guy's perspective, but it ain't getting in deep. I'd like to get in deep. What I would ask these guys is how has this affected you? And they'll say, well, it doesn't really affect me. I'll say, well, tell me when you think about this. Does this, when was the last time that you were threatened with having a baby from someone who was, in this article, they talk about girls who, the guy fucks them with a condom, and then the girl takes the condom in the bathroom. He opens the door, and she's shoving the semen up her vagina, and he threw her out of the house, right? So this is what they're dealing with. I mean, this is scary, scary, scary stuff. So if you don't think this is scary, the article's the friendly-looking doctor there. This is scary stuff. And if you've ever been in this situation, it's no joke. That's the only beef I have with this article, is that they're not really talking about the fear and the sleeplessness and the disruption this causes in a man's life, because that has to be there, or the guy would not have a vasectomy. If this was just like another thing that he was like a little bit worried about, because condoms are one thing, right? But women are so evil when it comes to getting pregnant that these guys are actually causing themselves to not even have babies. I mean, they're like MGTOW plus. These guys are like MGTOWs on steroids, right? You know, they're not able to have kids. You know, I've never heard about MGTOWs getting vasectomies yet. But these are guys that are really, you got to imagine the situation they're in. They're being hounded. They have like fancy cars. They have fancy houses. Anybody who lives in this neighborhood is a target because it's a wealthy neighborhood. And the girls know it. And so they're fucking these guys, fucking them silly, and they're doing their best to get pregnant. And guys are so afraid, and I'm guessing there's a couple things that are probably not being said here. Well, here's one thing that is being said. Extortion happens all the time. Women come after them. They get pregnant and want a ransom payment. This is the doctor, Dr. David Schusterman, right? Some guys do an analysis of the cost. 3 days of discomfort for a vasectomy, and it's worth millions of dollars to them. I never see a poor guy asking for a vasectomy. Rich guys are a population that's abused a lot. So that's pretty good. Actually, I didn't really see that the first time. That's pretty good. He's telling, his clients truth. And I hope that if you want to have a vasectomy and you are in New York area, call up Dr. Schusterman, because this guy is a cool guy, Like just saying that publicly is awesome. That's doing a huge favor to guys. But I think also that there's more that could be found out about it if you did some research into what guys, like a deep interview, a couple hours of guys who, stories of things that they've heard in the Hamptons. I'm sure there's a lot of history of this. And probably like a lot of people who live in the Hamptons, their wife, and this is the big fucking secret, you guys. This is what no one fucking talks about, is a lot of guys are married to fucking useless whores who did this to them. And that they forgive them and they cover it up later. It's like Nazi atrocities being covered up, right? But this is super common. You cannot even imagine. I don't want to get into specific nationalities, but you cannot imagine how many women in the U.S. who came in, who actually tricked their husband, got pregnant, got the green card, and then afterwards, the guy's like, yeah, it's just what women do, But it's not really true, because not all women are the same. And that's a very important thing to know. This MGTOW channel is not about hating anybody who doesn't have a penis. That's not the truth. There are different kinds of people. There are different kind of girls. And the more women you have experience with, you'll realize that there actually are. I'm not saying it's worth it to go find out, because the pain and the one-time mistake is so great that it's not really worth it putting your life on the line to find out if this girl's a lost lamb or not. But it is just still the truth, regardless, if it's worth your time to find it out. It's kind of like saying, if you're in a war and you're looking at different fields to cross, you can say most of these fields are totally safe. You're not going to get killed. But of course, the ones that you are going to get killed, you're going to have a bullet go through your heart, and your heart's going to exit out of the back of a huge hole in your chest, and you won't even remember or see anything else, and you're going to die in that field and get run over by a tank later, right? And just disappear, and you'll never be buried, right? That's the truth about the mistakes. But the reality is a lot of those fields actually are safe. And some women are safe. Some women are not like this. So just know that the price is super high. At the same time, as not all fields are dangerous, right? Just understand that. Is it worth going across those fields, walking across there? That's another total different issue, right? But just to know the reality. This channel, Ronin Man, is about finding out the fucking truth. What the fuck is going on, right? Okay, so here's a real estate developer. John, 34-year-old bachelor, real estate developer, Upper East Side residence. He can choose a different sex partner at the Hamptons every weekend. He doesn't want a repeat of last summer with a woman he met at a party who tried to pull one after sex. So this is the girl who he screwed her, and then she disappeared in the bathroom for too long, and then he came in, and then she was actually in there with the condom, shoving it up her vagina, and he had a $1.5 million Southampton house. So that's his summer house. He obviously has another house where he lives in. So he's frozen his sperm. Oh, okay. So he's really gone for it. Okay. This is smart. This is kind of a Ronin Man kind of guy. I'd like to talk to this guy. So he had a bad experience with a girl. He found her shoving semen up her vagina. Now, I've had plenty of these kind of situations I can talk about later. This one's not about me. This is about this article. So John here has frozen his sperm. Really smart. Really smart. And he did a vasectomy. So that's pretty cool. I want kids. Not that I don't want kids. It's that I don't want kids on other people's terms, right? Very smart. This guy's fucking awesome, yeah. This is the kind of guy you want to be. This is like a manly man. He doesn't run away. He's not some pussy who just like, oh, I can't talk to women at all because they're too dangerous. He's like, no, they are dangerous, right? Not all fields are safe, right? But there are solutions. And I'm going to take those solutions. I'm going to use my brain, my intelligent mind, to decide the best way to navigate this life that is in front of me, right? Instead of running away, right? Love guys like this, right? Let's see here. So yeah, it's talking about child support, 17% of a father's salary, up to $400,000. $1 million a year can be $100,000 a month. A year. A total of $2.1 million before a kid turns 21. So these are typical costs for these guys. And these guys aren't super rich. These are just a $1.5 million house is not the wealthiest guy in the world, right? These are just normal guys. They have good jobs and they're doing well, or they have companies and they're doing well and they have money to spend on leisure, right? Here's another guy. He's got 2 kids. He's a healthcare administrator. He had a vasectomy, so I'm guessing he is from a rich family, which it's very popular to hate people from rich family. But let me tell you this. If you're a cool guy and if you're a smart guy and you make money and you decide to have kids, guess who are the evil kids now? They're your fucking kids, right? Because you were successful. What makes them bad? Why are the kids suddenly bad because you're a cool guy? Total bullshit. Just total jealousy. Don't fall into that. Okay, so the downtown Brooklyn man, he's a 10 years open relationship. Okay, so he's having open relationship. This is another one that's kind of interesting. They don't usually talk about open relationships in mainstream articles, right? That means open relationships. You can fuck other girls. They're probably swingers. One of my friends runs a swinger website, and it's hilarious, the situations that get up on there. But he met a very hot Russian model. She pulled off the condom, and they had sex. Oh, so she stealthed him. So this is what they keep talking about, men stealthing. Yeah, they didn't even use the stealthing term in here because they didn't probably realize the evilness of mainstream media, that now there's another term for taking off a condom during sex. It's called stealthing. And guys are now being put in jail for stealthing, right? So they're having sex with a girl, but they take the condom off. And I'm guessing it's probably because they can't come. And they want the feeling of like the raw so they can come, right? But they put guys in jail for that. But here's a girl who did it to him. They didn't talk about stealthing. There's never any talk about stealthing or going to jail when it comes to women. It's only when it comes to guys, right? There's always a name made up, patriarchy, stealthing, whatever. There's some name that they can hang everything on. But when women do the same thing, it just doesn't, no one talks about it. And as every guy knows with half a fucking brain, is that women lie about birth control like a motherfucker, right? They lie like crazy about birth control. And they skip days. And if you go in, speaking of evil women that guys cover their war crimes about with, start talking about your friends' wives. Just start talking to people that you know. Like they're married for 40 years or 30 years, whatever. Just start talking to them, did he want to have a kid? Did you ever do anything? And they'll say, oh, I skipped the pill a couple days, and then he'll laugh while he's watching football or something on TV, right? It's like you feel like, sometimes I feel like as a MGTOW, I feel like I'm living in a fucking parallel universe. It's like, how fucking stupid are people, right? Like, how stupid is that guy? The girl is totally cucking him and fucking him over and now taking all his money and doesn't even care about him, or she wouldn't have done that. And it's like, this is supposedly a sign of love and a loving relationship. And it's just like, some guys' lives are so fucked, I really don't even know where to start. I don't know where to start. And I think where you should start for yourself is start at the truth. Okay? Start at the goddamn truth and then go from there. How about that? Start at the truth. So if the woman fucking stealthed you and had a kid, that's a crime. she should be reported to the police, right? It's a crime now, right? At least in the U.S. I don't know if every country, but this is a crime, and I'm sure you could, if you really, really push it, you're going to look like a pussy because everyone's going to be against you because women are the only ones who can prosecute for this one, apparently. But if you prosecute for this one, maybe you can have some luck with that, or at least a little bit of sympathy. And the reason why is not that the courts really give a fuck. It's just that they have to pretend like they do. So at some point, they'll say, yes, kind of like very, very, usually like 40 years later, 100 years later, they'll say, yeah, guys are screwing their students and they're going to prison all the time. And girls are screwing their high school students and they are seen as like vixens and kind of applauded. And the guys are kind of... So at some point, somebody says, we have to prosecute one of these women at least to make it look fair, right? And then they prosecute one woman and then everybody's like, that's not fair. She's a woman. Guys want sex. And there's all this stuff that goes on. Everything that never would happen with for example, high school girl and her teacher if he's a male. If a male teacher, then they would just go insane if anybody even brings it up. But when a woman does it, it's all of a sudden, hey, every guy wants sex. How can you do that? It's not a crime. But the courts are different because they have to pretend like they're being honest and they're being fair. So they have this kind of front that they put on. It's a major, major front. And you can see it. It's like I said, it's like decades or 100 years following reality. But eventually they do prosecute a few people. And it's just not enough to make it, to make it fair. But it's just like they'll just periodically do it. So if they have 1,000 cases of this, they might prosecute 2 people and they might get in the media. But, it's like just enough that the ones that get in the media tend to be the hotter teachers, which I don't mind. But, okay, so here we go. So he got shaken down. We'll just finish this up. There's women that they're looking for pregnancy. And the guy's shooting blanks. So I just want to end this one on this is that these guys are... they're what do you call it? I can't even think of the word. Disfiguring their own bodies and internally, which is worse than outside, and stopping themselves from the possibility that they do meet the very, very, very rare person or situation where it's worth having an offspring, right? And, they're giving up that. And you got to think about what are they going through? What is in their minds? How much pain did guys have to go through to get to this phase where they finally are like, fuck it, I'm going to cut off my own dick, basically, right? I'm going to, have a fucking vasectomy as a single guy, as a single rich guy, right? And, this is how bad it is. This is like really, really how bad it is. Guys are willing to disfigure their own bodies. And what's so terrible about it, and here's the really terrible thing, is I think this is going to be tested in court. And I think what's going to happen is if a guy is too cool and fucks too many of these women and the women get pregnant and he fucks one of them too long. So if he fucks them just one night, I think he has a vasectomy and it's not his DNA, he's probably fine. But if he lives with one of these girls, let's say it's a Filipino or whatever, and he lives with her for a month in the Hamptons and then she's pregnant and then they find out that, and he says, hey, I had a vasectomy, and they do a test and it's actually not his DNA, I think that the courts are going to side with her. So it's just a matter of time, The girls are criminally stealthing these guys, and the guys are so, there's so much at stake that they're willing to, fuck their own bodies up. There's all this talk about women doing all this stuff for guys. Look what guys do, to avoid these evil women, and they don't even talk about it. Guys never talk about shit, right? MGTOW is one of the only places you hear the reality of this whole struggle that guys go through. And that's the thing with some MGTOW videos is you got to be weak because you got to tell the truth about guys having fears, guys having trouble, and guys not being the fucking superhero with the fucking cape, right? We're not, right? We're not. We got to deal with a real life out there. So sometimes we have to go there. And I think that's the beautiful thing is that guys are at the point where it's so serious they have to drop the bullshit and say, okay, some things are difficult for me, right? And obviously these guys went through a ton of pain before they got to this point. And I would like to see, if you are a researcher, if you're a journalist, I would like to see more research into this. The reality of what gold diggers do and what crimes they commit in order to trap these guys. And if somebody wanted to do something really interesting, you would find out, and this would be very difficult to do without letting people know what you're doing, but tricks that, married couples, what percentage of married couples had a criminal behavior like stealthing pulled on them. So the girl lied about, being on the pill or something. She stealthed him, which is illegal, in order to have a baby, and they stayed together. And how many supposedly happy marriages were actually founded on total fraud and deception, right? This is the kind of shit I like to hear about. Yeah, fuck society, okay? I want to know the truth. If a woman fucked a guy over and it ended up being okay, fine. I can accept that. It's similar to, like, in Africa, that one group kidnapped all those girls and then raped all those kids, right? And then now they live with them as their wives. I accept that some of those women are going to live with those guys for the rest of their lives. I guess like 10% came back to their families, right? The other 90 are still with them, right? I can accept that. I mean, it's obviously fucked up. It's not right. It's not right. Rape is not right. And kidnapping is not right. But some of these women are going to stay with these guys and give it another 30 years, and it's going to look like a normal marriage. You won't know that he kidnapped her. You won't know that he raped her. You won't know she got gang raped. And it'll all be covered up. And everybody covers this shit up so fucking much, right? But I personally like to know the truth about life. Ronin Man likes to know, even if it's not pretty, right? If I have cancer, I want to know, right? If something's happening to me that's not good, I want to know. I always prefer the truth over a comfortable lie. I'd always do. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it red pill. I don't care. But it's like, I like truth. I'm a truth seeker. I always want to know, right? So knowing more about relationships, and you start to see the fucking, I know a lot because people tell me a lot, right? I'm just a personality. I talk about this stuff a lot. People tell me stuff in private that they would never tell anybody else. I've had so many people tell me stuff that they say, I've never told anybody this. And I never break their confidence. So I'm very careful to make sure that any story I tell is no way traceable to any real person, right? Because all the wisdom in MGTOW comes from real guys' experiences, okay? It's important to talk about real experiences, okay? You can't always have a fucking Disney fairy tale. Sometimes you have to talk about real things, right? And this is a real thing these guys are going through. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And this is a fucking interesting thing. And like I said, any feedback on this one is fucking very welcome. And anything that you had, any experience with gold diggers, if you are a wealthy guy, I would love to hear from you either privately or publicly. My email is roninmgtow, and you can also send it through comments on Facebook. On YouTube are the best. We also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/roninman. And actually, our YouTube channel got facebook.com/roninman, no spaces, nothing, yesterday. So we got the unique URL. So yes, we're on our way. That's the reason why, is because of you. Because of your shares, your comments, your views. We got enough views to get the... They used to give that away when you first opened the channel. Now you have to get a certain amount of views and traffic on your site. And we got that. So we're on our way up, guys. There's tons of new comments. I just see comments coming in as I'm making this video. So super exciting, man. Super fucking exciting. Thank you very much for listening, and hope you guys have a great day. And avoid these stealthing, gold digging, fucking evil women.